Welcome to the AI for Sales podcast, hosted by best-selling author, keynote speaker, and sales innovator, Chad Burmeister. This is where the future of selling comes alive, exploring how AI transforms customer experiences, drives sales outcomes, and reshapes the way we connect, compete, and close business. You'll hear from sales, marketing, and technology leaders on the front lines of AI for sales, sharing strategies, successes, and the skills you'll need to thrive in an AI-powered world. As Dr. Joel LeBon, marketing and sales professor at the Johns Hopkins University Carey School of Business, said best in Chad's book, AI for Sales, How Artificial Intelligence is Changing Sales. In sales, time kills deals. In AI for sales, AI kills time. Thanks to our sponsors, BDR.ai, Nooks.ai, and ZoomInfo, the go-to market intelligence platform that accelerates revenue growth. Want an introduction to one of our sponsors? Go now to www.str.ai/intro, and Chad will personally connect you with the right person at any of these companies, the one who can make a difference for your business. And remember, in traditional sales, time kills deals. But in AI for sales, AI kills time. Get ready to learn, level up, and lead the AI revolution in sales. This is the AI for Sales podcast. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to another AI for Sales podcast. I am Chad Burmeister, your host, and I'm joined by our future co-host and a very, very, very good personal friend of mine, Brian Weinman, who's also a co-informatican and future Salesforce.com employee, pending a merger that was announced a few months ago. And pending, I might add, because it's not done yet. So read the announcement in the news. But Brian Weinman has been with Informatica for going on 9 years, and he's extremely knowledgeable in the world of all things data and AI. He's logged about 180 hours of agentic AI building because he'd been doing so much amazing things around messaging in Excel spreadsheets and best practices that he finally had it up to his eyeballs in doing Excel spreadsheet work that he figured out that GPT could do a lot of the heavy lift. And so I am so excited because he's technical, he's an ex-DJ, he's so smart when it comes to AI, and he's also just a nice guy. So Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chad. Happy to be here. The intro, boy, those are things, if you would have asked me 20 years ago to describe where I would be in my career, none of that would be in there at all. I went to school to be a lawyer, and I figured out that wasn't where I wanted to go. Went into nightclub DJing and somehow recognized that I had a talent for pattern recognition and marketing. As most DJs will tell you, you've got to put butts in the seats, and that grew into a technology career. And you mentioned AI, 180 hours, I think 8 weeks strong on this project, building out a custom GPT to ideally, I set into motion when I sat down, I said, I want a GPT to replicate me. And we are so far away from that, it may as well be on the moon. So for you and I, the best part about that is we will be employed for the foreseeable future for several reasons that we can talk about. But there is no world in which we can automate a fully agentic number of agents, or even one custom GPT or whatever LLM you prefer, is nowhere near getting anywhere close to you, me, any of the new BDMs. Not yet. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying it hasn't happened yet.
Well, you've always told me, and you always quote very famous and smart people, 1% a day, and you multiply that over 365 days, and you will get close a year from now.
Correct.
So tell me, I'm going to go off script because that's how we roll. Tell me the story about, because I think this will help our audience get to know who you are as a person. And since you're going to be co-hosting this show, the story where about your eyesight, how someone came up to you and you were looking at your phone, and tell that story, because I think that'll help connect the dots between your ability. Brian Weinman gets 4% email reply rates. And if anyone knows anything about anything, that's not normal. The normal reply rate to maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when I was at
Mhm.
WebEx 20 years
Right.
ago,
Yeah.
that was normal. But today, 0.5%, 1%, that's even better than normal. 4% is not natural. And so tell me the story, and tell our audience the story about your eyesight and about what happened to you that day that was so amazing.
Copy that. It is a good story. It anchors my career. Anybody who's read anything from Simon Sinek or Malcolm Gladwell um, knows about the 1 to 2% marginal gains that, when added up, give you a large advantage over fill in the blank. And 4% is cold, by the way, cold, like 100% cold outbound. You can very well get that much higher, closer to the 13%, which we can unpack in a later podcast, right? But it depends on several things that all anchor to one encounter in my life. And that's where you're headed. I have an eye problem. You might see me in this podcast, look over to this screen, because you are over here and you're huge. But on my screen here, I don't use the laptop monitor because I'm blind as a bat. Now I can drive very slowly. And some people look at me after I tell you this story and they're like, "You drive?" Here's how the story goes. I'm sitting on the corner of in Fort Collins, Colorado. It's a sunny day. And my wife's finishing up making a purchase in the shop, and I come outside to enjoy the day, and I get a couple seconds bored, as people do. What do? You grab your phone. So I grab my phone, and sunlight it exacerbates this problem. So here's me staring at my phone, and I've got it right here, and I'm sitting here staring at it, and I've got it in close proximity. And again, sunlight exacerbates this problem. And I get a tap on the shoulder from a woman, and she says, "You know what? I couldn't help notice your proximity to your phone and your struggle to read your phone. And I happen to be friends with a gentleman who has a new technology that might have a profound impact on the ability for you to read your phone at a distance. Would you want to meet him?" What do you think my reaction was? Hold my wallet. Can we go? Can we go right now? I'll tell my wife. Let's go right now. So, well, imagine that encounter as now put yourself in the seat of a BDM, and imagine most of our audience, most of the leaders that we lead, most of the leaders who are leading teams are tasked with training new people to prospect the most heavily prospected, hardest to reach people on the planet. And for some reason, this entire industry puts the least qualified people in charge of doing that job and contacting the people who are most likely to tell them to go kick rocks. So they need to know the product, know the implications, and know how to speak the office of CFO. Are you insane? No, you don't. Let's go back to that encounter that I just had. What if you could just say that? What if you could replicate that encounter for every person that you want to talk to? We might say, well, how do you do that? It comes down to just dissecting what happened. That person tapped me on the shoulder. They didn't introduce themselves. They didn't say, "I'm from XYZ company, and my company does this, and my company does that, and we're the most revered company in our space. We're the Gartner Magic Quadrant leader." She didn't say any of that. All she said was, "Hey, I happen to notice your plight, and I might have something new that could help you with that. Would you want to facilitate an interaction? Here's my wallet. Can we go right now? What are you doing right now? I'll go." So that's the profound, that's the story, that if you unpack the little nuances that happen there, didn't matter. All this email that goes out that you see, the prospecting email that goes out, that's just 200-300 words that all starts with, my name is Brian. I am from Informatica. Informatica is the data management tool set, Gartner Magic Quadrant leader in the world, and we work with companies that blah, blah, blah. What would you think would happen if she did that to me on the street corner? I would look at her like she's a crazy person. So why do we do that when we're prospecting? Why not just do it the way that she did it every single time? Now, the cool part is the reason why you and I will be employed for the foreseeable future is to get people to replicate that encounter is really difficult to do. Let me see if I netted that story for you.
I really think that's the crux of the situation here. And when you gave that story in 45-minute training of new hires, and you said, good news, everyone, I want you to unload the heavy bag of bricks on your shoulders, take it off,
Right.
and you don't need to learn Informatica the next 4 weeks. Unload and
Yeah.
and learn what I'm about to tell you. And you shared that story. And then a guy named Brandon, who was a forklift operator in Los Angeles, went out, hit the phones, and booked 8 meetings in under 2 weeks using a tool called Nooks.ai. And it was all because of that conversation.
I didn't know that. That's amazing. That just made my entire day. That's
Okay, there you go. And there's +2 on top of that. So I'm sticking with 8
cool.
because,
Right.
and those were very hard to reach prospects.
Exactly.
So that's pretty amazing. So tell me now, let's layer the AI cake on top of what we just talked about. How in the world does AI and these 180 hours of version 30 of an app that you're building, how does AI help you deliver this kind of basic messaging to your customers? And your customers are BDMs, AEs, RSDs, VPs. Like, you serve a lot of customers. How do you use AI to help serve them better?
I feel like Thomas Edison. Now, notice I said feel like. I'm certainly not Thomas Edison. By saying that, I say I'm trying to invent the light bulb, however many thousands of times it took him to do it. I'm only on version 34 or 5 by now. How do I use it? So no matter what you do, it's nearly impossible to get rid of Excel. Now, what's interesting about the encounter that we just talked about, that story and the simplicity by way of which what did we do? What did she do successfully? She generated an interaction. The part of the story that I might have left out that you got to, or that I should have added, was, look, you don't need to be an expert at Informatica. You don't need to be an office. You don't need to speak office of CFO. You don't need to know the products. You want to, don't get me wrong. I'm not belittling those things. You want to, but you don't need to be in. What if I could take all that weight off your shoulders and just say, look, man, hey, look, I recognize that you have a struggle, that I have a new technology, a new method, a new tool that might save you a lot of pain in the butt. Do you want to chat? What did she do when she tapped me on the shoulder? She delivered a message. And what did she want to do? Facilitate an interaction. That's it. But to do that, and she did that in as few words as possible. So how do we replicate that via email? Your question now, back to your question, which, how does AI help with that? It helps in several ways. First of all, it helps generate the message. I think when everybody goes to AI, they immediately go to the default, which is, help me write a message for this prospect. Well, those of us that grew up in the 90s, or 2000s even, remember the notion of just, hey, this guy looks like a prospect that I successfully landed a conversation with. I got to go back into my inbox, find it, fetch it, customize it, send it. Now I got to do that 50, maybe 100 times in a day if you're dialed in and working 10 hours straight. How do we amplify that? Well, AI helps us. First of all, it helps us generate the message. But it also can be tasked with organizing and curating your account list. And by that, I mean helping you when you get an account list from a rep, our customers, or a person in marketing, our customers, who say, I have a list of accounts and I would like to generate a campaign to target and bolster the amount of money those accounts spend. Or this is a greenfield list of accounts. To search and find contacts, what do we need? We need verified URLs, verified homepages. I have to task the GPT with curating my account list. And that account list goes into building out the searches in LinkedIn Sales Nav and in Zoom Info. Great. Okay. Now I can use the URLs there to create a Boolean, and now I know what companies definitively with the GPT having verified these are the company homepages. That's one huge time saver. The second time saver is the contact curation. So now the GPT is tasked with helping me build and purify and validate my account lists. Now I've got a contact list. Great. I went to Zoom Info and LinkedIn Sales Nav. I downloaded my accounts, my contacts. Now I got to marry those back up with my accounts and the reps that are managing those accounts. GPT can help you with that. So there's three huge time savers: the messaging, the account list curation, and the contact list curation. Those are the first three things that are a huge time saver for SDRs. Let me pause there and see if that answered your question.
I mean, absolutely, because I think about that street corner interaction, and I wonder, like, is she a representative for that organization?
No, she was just a person who knew a guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she didn't know his credentials. She didn't know if he was a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader. None of that mattered at all.
Yeah.
All she recognized was that I was having a struggle, that she knew about a new technology that could help me, potentially help me with, that might make a difference. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Every quarter, your pipeline goals go up. But when SDR teams are bogged down by prospecting, dialing, and coaching busy work, they struggle to hit their goals. That's where Nooks comes in. Nooks helps you double and even triple the pipeline you generate. Nooks is the AI sales assistant platform that automates account research, list building, and getting more great prospect conversations, so you can focus on the human side of selling. Companies like Seismic, Modern Health, and Greenhouse use Nooks to radically increase outbound pipeline. See how you can build more pipeline today by visiting nooks.ai.
And that's why I've found a lot of times there's something that happens when a new rep goes into an organization, and they do really, really well at first because they're good at solving. They just identify the problem, and then they marry the problem to a solution. And they go, oh, I know that problem. And then they get there for a year, and they're too good at saying, oh, I hear it. Let me tell you about the features, advantages, and benefits. Nope. And then they drop for a little while, and then they have to retrain themselves to go back to finding the problem and listening and digging deep into the problem. So go back to the basics.
The people who are the people who are the worst at that are the SCs who are the best solutions consultants in the world. They say, oh, look, these guys are making a lot more money than I am. They go into sales, and they, not every time, but sometimes, are the worst at it because they only think through product solutions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you were going to ask.
What about misconceptions in AI? There's a lot of them, and I'm sure that, again, in the last several weeks, you've now gone head first into it. And I'm sure you had some thoughts of what AI could or couldn't do. And now, we just had a talk last night when I was walking up my driveway. And he said, man, here's what I thought. And now here's what's the reality. Maybe expose a few of those misconceptions.
The first is that AI will be able to automate, at least in the near future, out a BDM. That is not the case. In fact, it's nowhere near where it needs to be. The second misconception is that you can automate messaging and take the human out of the loop. You can. These LLMs were built with something that's actually called design bias. Design bias meaning these LLMs are designed to give you an answer at any cost. And that is the rub, at any cost. It will take shortcuts, it will summarize, it will silently omit. And if you do not watch it, if you ask it to give you messaging and do research on 10 people, you'll notice that come about maybe the fourth person, it will start to take shortcuts. It is the smartest teenager, and I'm not even saying teenager, I'm saying 11 or 12-year-old you will ever encounter. And come about the fourth or fifth person or task that you give it, it will start to hallucinate. It will start to shortcut. It will summarize. And by the sixth person, you will have a message that looks nothing like what you wanted it to look like. And it might not even be factually accurate. So there is no world in which, not yet, there's no world in which there is not a human in the loop.
Now, unless you add data governance.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
If you couple it with the smart people on the back end, and that's where we're starting to say, okay, now we've gotten it to a level on version 34 dot 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 dot. Now we're starting to say, okay, we need to start to have conversations with the smart people on the IT team to enable a database that can talk to this and bring, and you know more of the terms than I do. I look at it more from a MBA in computer science, but more from a business perspective. And I think you look at it more from a technical and RAG architecture and some of that terminology.
Yeah, it's actually really easy to explain. So and trust me, 20 years ago, I did not picture being able to ever explain anything close to this. So what you're getting at is the need for a governance tool and something called persistent memory. So what happens in a session with ChatGPT, over the course of, even if you get up to go and get coffee, it will have forgotten. It doesn't have something called persistent memory. It will have forgotten the start of your thread. So you actually have to go back in there and say, reset your context. No reports necessary, just update your memory. Let me know when you're ready. And it will analyze the entire session. That's where the hallucination and the silent omit starts to come in, because it's only looking, it has the worst memory ever. It's got the memory of a small dog or a gnat. There's one problem. The second problem is the governance issue. And this is why all the AIs, all the businesses in the world need a governance layer that makes the GPT perform the exact same function for every prospect on our list. Now, remember I said 10, and it'll start to hallucinate at about 4. Well, a governance layer goes in and says, and taps him on the shoulder, taps the GPT on the shoulder and says, no, you need to execute every step exactly as it's laid out in this list, and you can't deviate. You can't do it. You can't skip. You can't summarize. You can't silent omit. And it taps that GPT on the shoulder every single time. That's the governance layer. That's why it's needed. God. Very easy to explain.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that explains the Salesforce Informatica Love Fest.
It actually does. It really, really does.
You've been in and around this space for a little while with Informatica and master data management. And in fact, you were with the company that was acquired by Informatica. And you've been playing around with AI technologies on the sales side for a while with Nooks. Now we've deployed Buzz AI you've used for a little while, BDR AI when we partnered together for 3-4 years on that. What emerging technologies are you seeing in the AI space that excite you? Because you agreed to be the co-host of this show. So obviously You're excited about this. What are you seeing out there?
I am seeing, so interesting you asked that question, because I actually think we took a step back. And by that, I mean GPT-5 is if I told you that GPT-4 or GPT 4.1 was causing me all these problems at number 4 out of 10 people on my prospecting list. And by the way, you and I organized, to put this in context, personalization, and have a personalization engine that we can unpack in a later podcast that does 750 a day, 750. Now let's dial that back down to our 10 people. We start getting hallucinations at 4. GPT-5 is worse. GPT-5 has design bias in it that summarizes, that shortcuts, that bifurcates, that hallucinates even faster than 4.0 or 4.1. So I'm very interested. Now to answer your question, what I'm interested in seeing is the industry starting to recognize that people want to build pipelines. And by that, I mean prospecting pipelines in which we want a GPT to help us with every step in the way of account list curation and purification, contact list downloading, contact list marrying back up to the reps that we serve so that you can get those campaigns out, and then installing the personalization in every instance and executing that out. That's a pipeline, and we're nowhere ever near it today, but we will be. And that's what I'm excited to see.
Yeah, that's a good point. When we met with Zoom Info recently, and we are doing a new hire onboarding call, and we talked about the beginner skills and then the advanced skills. And I don't believe you were on that call because I brought up what you've built with this AI that we've been talking about on the call today. And I said, hey, you guys should look at what Brian built because it helps you build the Boolean logic and everything that could be licensed inside of your app, or you guys should build it and put it in the suggestion box. And their CS said, yeah, that's a really good idea. We've been beta testing something in that area already anyway. So I'm excited that they're going to put AI inside under the hood of most generally available software applications in general, right? Now that you've got generally available AI.
And you know what's an interesting part about this? Tell me if you'd agree. The people that you spoke to, including our guys, some of the most brilliant people, and by that I mean builders of our own internal GPT, they don't speak our language. So I wonder if it's the same for Zoom Info and Nooks and those guys. They're building, but they don't know, like, they don't have the mileage of prospecting. They've never placed any of those guys. I wonder if any of them have placed 100 dials in their life, let alone a day, right? So getting them to understand the street logic is akin to training a GPT. It's literally the same thing. And you have to tell them why there are certain choices that you've made, and they don't understand. And they do if you walk them through it, and they're like, oh, okay.
Sure. Connecting the dots between your important customers and not and the users at the customers, like SDRleader.com, where they're bringing together 600 people in November in Dallas of the users and the SDR managers. Those are the practitioners who are at the tip of the spear leading teams. That's where the true knowledge comes together.
That's
Last question for time, and that is, what skills should people be focused on so that they're prepared for this new augmented AI reality that we're living in today?
I don't think there's a world in which you can or should go about your job and not be experimenting with this. This is like, I don't have kids, but if I did, there's a wise friend of mine once told me, he said, there's two things that I would teach if I had a daughter. And that I wish I would have taught my daughter again, or back then, and that I'll try and teach my daughter if I have another one. He said, martial arts and coding. And I thought that was very wise of you. Coding is something that I wish I would have learned a long time ago. Now, the beauty of it is I don't actually need to know how to code or use Python today. I can actually start to play around with these LLMs and not have any technical background at all. Now, you want to start slow. And as I did, I sat down with a grand idea of all right, I'm here. I'm going to train this thing. And in about a week, it's going to be able to do everything that I can do, if not better. Oh, no. So start using it. You cannot grow up in a world and do your job today and expect to be relevant a month, 2 months, 3 months in when the entire team next to you is using GPTs or AIs to do something. You have to start using these things because it is going to be as profound as teaching your daughter how to code and fight.
Amazing. Well, and the cat's out of the bag because when a VP of the most important prospects and customers at our company comes to Brian Weinman and says, we're trying to get into this most important account and we can't reach the CIO, can you please write me an email series to this person and group of people and we, in 22 minutes, write a series of emails powered by this AI. They've obviously done something right, because even if it hallucinates at companies 6 through 10, it still does company 1, and that's the most important thing. So.
That's absolutely right. You're right. And the ask was to be a little bit more granular, and this will leave a cliffhanger for perhaps another one, which was the ask didn't involve technology at all. From our area vice president, we want to prospect JPMC, and we know that they use very advanced spam filters. So we want you to white glove a message, a relevant message, like the one that happened to me on the street corner, for every person on my list. And there's 75 of them. Now, that's the task. How do we use GPT to do it? That'll be the cliffhanger.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining another AI for Sales podcast. Our next guest is arriving now. So we're going to stop now, and here we go with our next guest.
Thanks for listening to the AI for Sales podcast with host Chad Burmeister. This episode was brought to you by BDR.ai, Nooks.ai, and ZoomInfo, the go-to-market intelligence platform. BDR.ai helps sales teams accelerate outreach and book more meetings automatically, using AI to personalize messaging across LinkedIn, email, and beyond. Nooks.ai is the AI-powered sales assistant platform that automates account research, list building, and connects reps to more high-quality conversations, helping teams double or even triple their outbound pipeline. And ZoomInfo gives your revenue teams the data and insights they need to find, engage, and win their best customers, helping you move faster, work smarter, and grow revenue at scale. If your company is serious about driving better outcomes with AI for sales, here's the fast track. Forget the endless website clicks and forms. Go straight to the decision makers at these companies, the ones who can move the needle for your business. Chad will personally connect you with the right leaders at our sponsors, the people who can actually make a difference in your business. Head to www.sdr.ai/intro and unlock your direct line to a more closable pipeline, powered by AI. Until next time, keep leading the AI for Sales revolution, and remember, in sales, time kills deals. But in AI for Sales, AI kills time.